ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय। नारायणं नमस्कृत्यं नरं चैव नरोत्तमं देवीं सरस्वतीं व्यासं ततो जयमुदीरयेत्। नष्टप्रायेषु भद्रेषु नित्यं भागवत सेवया भगवती उत्तम श्लोके भक्ति भवति नैष्टिकी। हरे कृष्णा। Today we continuing Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto First, Chapter 13. Dhritarashtra quits home. Shloka number 39 to 41. युधिष्ठिरः उवाच
युधिष्ठिर उवाच।
न अहं वेद गतिं पित्रोः
न अहं वेद गतिं पित्रोः।
भगवन् क्व गतौ इतः
भगवन् क्व गतौ इतः।
अम्बावाहत पुत्रा आर्ता
अम्बावाहत पुत्रा आर्ता।
क्व गता च तपस्विनी।
क्व गता च तपस्विनी।
कर्णधार इव अपरे
कर्णधार इव अपारे।
भगवान् पारदर्शकः।
भगवान् पारदर्शकः।
अथ आबभाषे भगवान्
अथ आबभाषे भगवान्।
नारदः मुनिः सत्तमः।
नारदः मुनिः सत्तमः।
नारद उवाच
नारद उवाच।
मा कञ्चन शुच राजन्
मा कञ्चन शुच राजन्।
यद् ईश्वरवंशं गत् जगत्
यत् ईश्वरवंशं जगत्।
लोकाः सह पालायस्य इमे
लोकाः स पालायस्य इमे।
वहन्ति बलिम् इषितुः।
वहन्ति बलिम् ईशितुः।
सह संयुनक्ति भूतानि
स संयुनक्ति भूतानि।
स एव अवियुनक्ति च।
स एव वियुनक्ति च।
युधिष्ठिर उवाच
युधिष्ठिर उवाच।
न अहं वेद गतिं पित्रोः
न अहं वेद गतिं पित्रोः।
भगवन् क्व गतौ इतः
भगवन् क्व गतौ इतः।
अम्बावाहत पुत्रा आर्ता
अम्बावाहत पुत्रा आर्ता।
क्व गता च तपस्विनी।
क्व गता च तपस्विनी।
कर्णधार इव परे
कर्णधार इव अपारे।
भगवान् पारदर्शकः।
भगवान् पारदर्शकः।
अथ आबभाषे भगवान्
अथ आबभाषे भगवान्।
नारदः मुनिः सत्तमः।
नारदः मुनिः सत्तमः।
नारद उवाच
नारद उवाच।
मा कञ्चन शुच राजन्
मा कञ्चन शुच राजन्।
यद् ईश्वरवंशं जगत्
यत् ईश्वरवशं जगत्।
लोकाः सपालायस्य इमे
लोकाः स पालायस्य इमे।
वहन्ति बलिम् इषितुः।
वहन्ति बलिम् ईशितुः।
सह संयुनक्ति भूतानि
स संयुनक्ति भूतानि।
स एव वियुनक्ति च।
स एव वियुनक्ति च।
युधिष्ठिर उवाच न अहं वेद गतिं पित्रोः भगवन् क्व गतौ इतः अम्मावाहत पुत्रार्ता क्व गता च तपस्विनी। कर्णधारयो अपरे भगवान् पारदर्शकः। अथ आबभाषे भगवान् नारद मुनिसत्तमः। नारद उवाच मा कञ्चन शुचो राजन् यत् ईश्वरवंशं जगत् लोकाः सपालायस्य इमे वन्ति बलिम् इषितुः। स संयुनक्ति भूतानि स एव वियुनक्ति च। हरे कृष्ण। Please read, Prabhuji.
युधिष्ठिरः उवाच नाहं वेद गतिं पित्रो भगवन् क्व गतौ इतः अम्बावाहत पुत्रा आर्ता क्व गता च तपस्विनी कर्णधार इव अपारे भगवान् पारदर्शकः अथ आबभाषे भगवान् नारदः मुनिसत्तमः नारद उवाच मा कञ्चन शुचो राजन् यत् ईश्वरवशं जगत् लोकाः सपाला यस्य इमे वहन्ति बलिम् ईशितुः स संयुनक्ति भूतानि स एव वियुनक्ति च।
हरे कृष्णा। कृपा में सीता माता जी।
माताजी। हरे कृष्ण। युधिष्ठिर उवाच न अहं वेद गतिं पितृ भगवान्येव गतिपितः हतपुत्र अत एव एव गतत तपस्विनी कर्णा कर्णाधार इव अपरे भगवान् पार दर्शकः अथ अवेशो भगवान् नारदो मुनिसत्तमः नारद उवाच मा कञ्चन शुचो राजन् यत् ईश्वरवासं जगत् लोका सफल यस इमि वहन्ति बलिम् ईशितुः सा संयुक्तानि भूतानि स एव विनुक्ति च।
Translation and
Thank you.
purport by the Srila
Thank you.
Prabhupada, Jagadguru Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Maharaj Yudhiṣṭhira said, "O godly personality, I do not know where my two uncles have gone, nor can I find my ascetic aunt who is grief-stricken by the loss of all her sons. You are like a captain of a ship in a great ocean, and you can direct us to our destination." Thus addressed the godly personality. Devarshi Narad, greatest of the philosopher devotees, began to speak. Sri Narad said, O pious king, do not lament for everyone is under the control of the Supreme Lord. Therefore, all living beings and their leaders carry on worship to be well protected. It is He only who brings them together and disperses them. Purport by the Srila Prabhupada, Jagat Guru Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Maharaj Yudhishthira, as a good soul and devotee of the Lord, was always conscious of the great loss of his aunt and her suffering as an ascetic. An ascetic is never disturbed by all kinds of suffering, and that makes him strong and determined on the path of spiritual progress. Queen Gandhari is a typical example of an ascetic because of her marvelous character in many trying situations. She was an ideal woman as mother, wife, and ascetic. And in the history of the world, such character is in a woman is rarely found. There are different types of philosophers, and the greatest of all of them are those who have seen the personality of Godhead, have surrendered themselves in the transcendental living service of the Lord. Among all such pure devotees of Lord, Devarshi Narad is chief, and therefore he has been described here as the greatest of all philosopher devotees. Unless one has become a sufficiently learned philosopher by hearing the Vedanta philosophy from a bona fide spiritual master, one cannot be a learned philosopher devotee. One must be very faithful, learn and renounce. Otherwise, one cannot be a pure devotee. A pure devotee of the Lord can give us direction towards the other end of Nisins. Devarshi Narad used to visit the palace of Maharaj Yudhishthira because the Pandavas were all pure devotees of the Lord, and the Devarshi was always ready to give them good counsel whenever needed. Every living being, either in this material world or in the spiritual world, is under the control of the Supreme Lord, the personality of Godhead, beginning from Brahmaji, the leader of this universe, down to the insignificant ant. All are abiding by the order of the Supreme Lord. Thus, the constitutional position of the living being is subordination under the control of the Lord. The foolish living being, especially man, artificially rebels against the laws of the Supreme and thus become chastised as an asura or lawbreaker. A living being is placed in a particular position by the order of the Supreme Lord, and he is again shifted from that place by the order of the Supreme Lord or his authorized agent. Brahma, Shiva, Indra, Chandra, Mahārāja Yudhiṣṭhira, or in modern society, Napoleon, Akbar, Alexander, Gandhi, Subhash, and Nehru, all are servants of the Lord, and they are placed in and removed from their respective positions by the supreme will of the Lord. None of them is independent. Even though such men or leaders rebel so as not to recognize the supremacy of the Lord, they are put under still more rigorous laws of the material world by different miseries. Only the foolish man, therefore, says that there is no God. Maharaj Yudhishthira was being convinced of this naked truth because he was greatly overwhelmed by the sudden departure of his old uncles and aunt. Maharaj Dhritarashtra was placed in that position according to his past deeds. He has already suffered or enjoyed the benefits accrued to him in the past, but due to his good luck, somehow or other, he had a good younger brother, Vidura, and by his instruction, he led to achieve salvation by closing all accounts in the material world. Ordinarily, one cannot change the course of one's due happiness and distress by plan. Everyone has to accept them as they come under the subtle arrangement of Kal or invincible time. There is no use trying to counteract them. The best thing is therefore that one should endeavor to achieve salvation, and this prerogative is given only to man because of his developed condition of mental activities and intelligence. Only for man are there different Vedic instructions for attainment of salvation during the human form of existence. One who misuses this opportunity of advanced intelligence is verily condemned and put into different types of miseries, either in this present life or in the future. That is the way the Supreme controls everyone. Om Jnanatimirandasya Jnananjana Shalaka Chakshurunmilitamena Tasmai Sri Gurave Namah Sri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Stapitamena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamaya Dadati Swapadantikam Vande Am Sri Guroho Sri Tapadakamalam Sri Gurun Vaishnavancha Sri Rupam Sagrajatam Sagana Raghunathanvitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadutam Parijana Saitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Sri Radha Krishna Padan Sagana Lalita Sri Vishakhanvitancha Namo Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Preshtaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swaminiti Namine Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschata Desha Tarine Vancha Kalpataruvecha Krupa Sindhube Evacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namah Jai Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Gadadhara Sri Vasadi Gaur Bhaktavrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Krishna. Today we continuing Srimad Bhagavatam Canto, first chapter 13. Dhritarashtra quits home. Shloka number 39 and uh, 40 and 41. Here Yudhishthir asking, to whom he asked? Narad Muni. He asking, I don't know where my two uncles and the ascetic aunt, where they are going. I am not understanding. And he, Yudhishthir Maharaj, address Narad Muni. You are coming as a uh, Karnadhar, captain of captain, like a ship and of a great ocean, that you can direct us to our destination. Please tell us our destination. And then Narad Muni giving the answer of his question. Prabhuji will tell us in detail. Hare Krishna. Vancha kalpatarubhyacha kripa sindhu. पतितानां पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमः। हरे कृष्ण।
ईश्वर परमः कृष्ण सच्चिदानंद विग्रह अनादिरादिर गोविंद सर्व कारण कारणम. Krishna, who is known as Govinda, is the supreme Godhead. He has an eternal blissful spiritual body, is the origin of all. He has no other origin, and he is the prime cause of all causes. And then in Bhagavad Gita, Krishna also says, Matta partaram na anyat kinchit asti dhananjaya mani mai sarvamidam protam sutre mani ganayivaham. O conqueror of wealth, there is no one superior to me. Everything rests upon me as pearls are strung on a thread. Basically, it is being stressed that Krishna is the supreme personality of Godhead. He is the Ishvara. And that same thing is something which is to be known, absorbed, understood, and executed. And those who fail, they fail to keep on moving here only till they understand and pass. See, even in Shveta Upanishad, same thing is mentioned. वेदोऽहम् एतं पुरुषं महान्तं आदित्यवर्णं तमसः परस्तात् तम एव विदित्वति मृत्युमेति नान्यपन्थ विद्यते अनया यस्मात् परं न परम् अस्ति किंचित् यस्मान्न अनियो न जायो अस्ति किंचित् वृक्ष इव स्तब्धो दिवि तिष्ठति एकः तेन इदं पूर्णं पुरुषेण सर्वम्. So Krishna is the Purna Purusha. So somehow Dhritarashtra understood this when he was advised by Vidurji. And so he immediately left. But the result of his going was that our Maharaj Yudhiṣṭhira, he became disturbed. He couldn't know what is happening. He thought that it is some mistake. He inquired from Sanjay, but Sanjay was not able to tell. And at that time, Naradji arrived. So he was like a divine intervention. And so he was welcomed, given all the respect that is due. And then Yudhishthira is addressing him. Very first thing he is saying is, oh, Naradji, you are like a godly personality. Now I will understand. And then he inquires, I do not know where my two uncles have gone. Not only that, I'm not even able to find my ascetic aunt who is grief stricken by the loss of all her sons. Naradji, you are like a captain of a ship in a great ocean. It is only you who can direct us to our destination. So please guide. And then what Naradji does is, he tells, do not lament for anyone, for everyone is under the control of the Supreme. All living beings, their leaders, carry on worship so as to be well protected. And it is only He who brings everyone together and even disperses. Now, Yudhishthir, he was a good soul. He was devotee of Lord, always conscious of the great loss that his aunt had suffered. And he could see that she was like an ascetic who is always facing all kinds of sufferings, which make them strong, determined on the path of spiritual progress. Gandhari is a typical example. She faced so many trying situations, and ultimately, she became the ideal woman, as mother, as wife, as ascetic. And so Yudhishthira Maharaj was all the more worried. He didn't want her to suffer anymore. But somehow he had left. She had left. And then when Naraji is coming, he gets a ray of hope. Because we know Naraji is able to transcendentally move everywhere. So he can know everything, whatever is going on, wherever it is happening. He was a great philosopher. And Prabhupada ji makes us understand what is the greatest philosopher. So he says, if you are able to see Krishna and if you have surrendered to Krishna in transcendental loving service, then it can be a greatest philosopher. So the stage starts by becoming a learned philosopher. And we do it by hearing the Vedanta philosophy from bona fide spiritual master. And once we read it, once we hear it, we become a learned philosopher devotee. And then we must be very faithful, renounced, so we become a pure devotee. And such pure devotees, only they can give direction of what is on the other end of nescience. We have seen the story of the Narad Muni, and we know how he had become transcendentally pure devotee of Krishna. And so he could travel everywhere and he used to come to palace of Yudhiṣṭhira Maharaj because even the Pandavas were pure devotees of Krishna. And it is always recommended that you should have association of the devotees, sadhu sangha. And that is exactly what Narad Muniji used to do. And whenever he used to come, he was always ready to give them good counsel whenever needed. And that is what he starts explaining that every living being, whether you are in spiritual world or in the material world, is under the control of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Lord Shri Krishna. And we are supposed to, and we actually always abide by the order of the Krishna. Our constitutional position is subordination under the control of Lord. As Chaitanya Mahaprabhu used to say, Jivera Swarupa hai Nitera Krishna Dasa. The quality or the nature of a living being is to be always a servant. And as my Guru Maharaj says, you have to strive to be a servant of the servant of the servant and participate in the preaching mission of Srila Prabhupada. But there are also foolish living beings who artificially rebel against the laws of Krishna and then they are chastised as asura or lawbreakers. A living being is placed in any particular position by the order of Krishna. And then again, he can be moved from that position by order of Krishna or his authorized agents. Many times we have questions why bad things happen to good men or women. And the answer is it is happening. You are being placed in that particular position by the order of Krishna. And that is on the basis of what is the karma phala balance in your karma phala bank account. So those people or leaders who rebel and do not recognize the supremacy of Krishna, Krishna then puts them under more rigorous laws of nature. He gives them different miseries. And so only the foolish persons can say that there is no God. So when we are suffering, ideally we cannot change the course of our whatever is the suffering, whatever is the happiness or distress which is given by plan. We need to simply accept them as they come under the arrangement of Kala. We cannot try to counteract them because those are the results of our karma phalas of our previous births. So the best thing is we should endeavor to achieve salvation. And this can be done only by a human personality. This is a prerogative of a man. The reason being, he is in a developed condition of mental activities and intelligence. So, if this opportunity is misused of advanced intelligence, then it is condemnable. And such persons who misuse it are put into different types of miseries, either in this life or even in future lives. And that is why Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita, Bahunam, Bahunam Janmanam Ante, the Dhanvan Mam Prapadyante. So, this is very, very clear that we come to know about Krishna. What do we come to know? Vasudeha Sarvamiti Mahatma Sudurlabha. So after many births and deaths, he who is actually in knowledge surrenders unto me, knowing me to be the cause of all causes and all that is. Such a great soul is very rare. So it is important that we start accepting Krishna and surrender to the Supreme Personality of Krishna. But then again, such surrendered souls are rare, as is again explained in Shvetashveta Upnishad. Sahastra Shirsha Purusha, Sahasraksha Sahasrapata, Sabhumim Vishwato Vritva, Tyatishthad Dasangulam, Purusha Evedam Sarvam, Yad Bhutam Yacha Bhavyam, Uttama Ratatvasya Eshano, Yat Anena Atirohati. Krishna is Atiroti. He is the Lord of immortality on all that is nourished by food. But then very few accept it and know it. So the key takeaways are that human attachment and grief. If Yudhiṣṭhira Maharaj had it, everyone suffers it. Spiritual inquiry. So the question arises from deeper longing to understand spiritual destination of loved ones. Spiritual mentorship. A teacher is like a captain who will ensure safe passage through turbulent waters in times of uncertainty and distress. Everything is divine will in this material world governed by Supreme Lord's will. Birth, death, separation. The life has got a temporary nature. Relationships, attachments, they are fleeting. And we can get relief from grief by understanding the higher purpose of divine control over creation. So these verses are teaching us that life's challenges, whatever they be, loss, separation, they are actually opportunities for spiritual growth. By surrendering to the will of Krishna, we can transcend material grief and achieve lasting peace. So Mahārāja Yudhiṣṭhira's inquiries, Narad Muni's response, they remind us of the impermanence of multiple relationships, eternal shelter of divine. So let us strive to focus on our spiritual journey. Let us chant more. Let us preach more. Because Krishna always has a higher plan for every soul.